Hello and welcome to the prototype of a potential new video series. The series will aim to show you how to create a single game mechanic or system in a very short amount of time. Since this series is somewhere in between a programming challenge and an actual tutorial, I will be focusing less on explanations of the actual system. However, there are other series on my channel that go more into depth and explain the reasoning behind certain thoughts. And from personal experience, I would say that sometimes there's just a need to see how something is done very quickly, either because you just need a different person's perspective on a topic, or because you may be facing a deadline and just want to get your things done as quickly as possible. In this prototype episode, we will create a feature that you see in almost every modern game, and that is that the player is able to assign custom hotkeys to the available actions in your game. So let's have a look at how to set up user-defined input keys that can change during the course of the game in no more than 25 minutes. Without further ado, let's dive into it. I made a new project based on a third-person template with no starter content, and first off we will add a new folder for the hotkey system. Then go in there, and what we need here is a list of all the possible actions in our game. So a new enumeration, e_actions. Let's add 5 elements. First one will just be an empty action, so a slash. Then there is turn, jump, open menu, and quit. Save and close the enumeration. We want to dynamically create widgets for all possible actions and the associated hotkeys, so let's add a new widget blueprint, w_action hotkey, and open it up. This widget will be nested inside others, so set the setting here to desired on screen. Remove the canvas panel and start with a size box. Check width and height override, make that 250 pixel by 70 pixel. And in here we need an overlay. First element in there will be a button. Make sure that's a variable. Let's just call that hotkey button. Then select the button and make it fill in both dimensions. Expand the style. There will be no normal padding and no press padding. Let's go to the normal style. Tint. Let's make that something like a dark gray. That should work. Then we'll go to hovered and select something like dark orange. Copy and paste that for the press. And just make it a little bit darker. Then we can copy that, paste it onto disabled, and we'll make that one a really light, almost yellow tone, because the disabled state will be used when we selected that hotkey. On top of the button we want to have a vertical box, and in there we will have 2 text elements. The first one will be the action text. Make that a variable, and the default text can be something like jump. Then we'll align that to the center horizontally, vertically to the top, and select your vertical box, make it fill in both dimensions. Let's give it a padding of 2 to the top and bottom, and so that our mouse will still hit the button, we want to make the visibility hit test invisible. Then go back to the action text, go to font, lower the size to 21 and give it an opaque shadow. Add a second text to the vertical box, let's call that hotkey text. Make it a variable. Default text can be something like spacebar. Typeface will be light with a size of 16 maybe. Then the alpha will be 0.7. Also align that to the center and to the top. Then also give it a padding of 2 pixels to the top. Select your w_action hotkey, the very top of the hierarchy, and let's make it hidden by default. Before we continue in here, let's quickly go back to our folder and create another widget blueprint, which will be the w_main. Then open that up. In here we first want to have a background blur, and to make that fill the entire screen you go to anchors and select the one in the lower right corner here, and then set all of the offsets to 0. Go to the blur strength, set it to 10. Grab a size box, drag that onto your canvas panel, increase the Z orders so it will appear above the background blur. Let's make it size to content. Alignment will be 0.5 in X and Y, and the anchor will be the very center one. Then we can reset the position to 0, 0. Check width override and maximum desired height. The width will be 250 and the maximum height will be 500 pixel. Then look for a scroll box, add that onto our size box. Let's make that a variable, call that hotkey widgets box or something like that. File save. Go to the event graph and add one custom event called select hotkey widget, which needs one input of the type w_action hotkey. reference, which will be the widget. Compile save. Back in your action hotkey, let's head over to the graph here. First off, we need a couple of variables. One will be the main widget. Variable type will be w_main reference. Make it editable and exposed on spawn. Then we need the action. That is an e_action. And finally we need the key. And that is just a simple key. Make that editable, exposed on spawn, and the action editable and exposed on spawn. We need one function called updateHotkey text, which has one input, call that new key, of the type key. First off, we will set our key variable to the input, then add an if statement or a branch. Let's check whether the key double equals any key. That's a weird engine thing. Any key actually means no key when working with keys. Hook that up to the condition. And then we grab our hotkey text, set text, copy paste that node for the true and false branch. Hook up the hotkey text as the target for both. If our key equals any key, it will just be an empty text. If not, off of our key, we will get display name and plug that in. Then go to the event graph, and on event construct, we will grab our action text, set text, get your action variable, call enum to string, and then hook that up to the text. It will automatically convert that for you. Hook everything up to event construct. After that, we want to update hotkey text with the key being our key variable. And then finally set visibility of ourselves to self-hit test invisible. Then select your hotkey button and add an onClicked event, because then we want to grab the main widget and call select hotkey with the widget being self. And let's add another custom event called select hotkey with one input being a boolean called select ? The only thing here we want to do is grab our hotkey button and set is enabled to the opposite of the input here. So grab a not boolean, hook that up to in is enabled, and hook up the execution. Compile, save, close your action hotkey and return to your main widget. Let's add some variables here. First off will be the selected hotkey, which will always only be one hotkey. Type for that w_action hotkey, object reference. And then we want to store all of our created hotkey widgets in a variable. Just call that hotkey widget. Same variable type, but this time an array. Let's add a function called create hotkey widgets. It will need one input. And if we go to the variable container here, it will be a map or dictionary. And the two variable types it will link is an e_action with a key. So it will tell us which action we are talking about and which key is currently used to perform that action. Let's just call that in for input. Off of the in, get the keys. And off of the return value, run a for each loop. For every found element, we want to create widget, class being the action hotkey. Hook that up to the loop body, and it will be asking you for a couple of things. So main widget will be self, action will be the array element, and for the key, you grab your input and find the array element. Then hook up the key here to the input. That's it for creating it. Then we want to get our hotkey widgets and add an element, which is the return value. Get your hotkey widgets box and add child. Content being the return value. To modify what we added to the box, we want to grab the return value and cast that to a scroll box slot. Then with your scroll box slot selected, set horizontal alignment to center. Default would be fill. And set padding. Split your struct pin here, because we'll give every widget a padding of, let's say, 3 pixels to the bottom. Alright, compile save. Let's add another function called widget for action. That will have one input, a single variable of the e_actions enum called action, and one output of the type w_action hotkey object reference called widget. It will only return a value, so it's a pure function. Grab your hotkey widgets, run a for each loop with break. Of the array element, get the action of it. Then let's check whether that equals enum, hook up the action from the input, add a branch, connect it to the condition and the branch to the loop body. If it's true, we will get the array element, promote to local variable, maybe local found or something, could be the name here. And after we set it, we want to break out of our loop. Then when the loop is completed, just return your local found. Parse save, close our two functions. And back in our event graph, there's our custom event still missing. What we first want to do is check whether the input here is valid. If it's not valid, get your selected hotkey variable and check whether that is valid. And if it is, let's copy our selected hotkey, call the select function, select hotkey, with the boolean being false, and then set your selected hotkey to null. So clear it basically. If it is valid, however, first off we want to perform the same check that we did here, so copy paste that. If it's not valid, just set your selected hotkey to the input, and off of the selected hotkey call select hotkey with select being true. If it is valid, we first want to get a branch, so hold B left click and check whether that widget is not equal to our already selected hotkey. Hook that up to the condition, connect the isValid to the branch. If it's true, copy paste selected hotkey and call select hotkey with select being false. Then set the selected hotkey to read the input, and off of it call select hotkey again, this time with the select being true. Okay, that's everything for widgets that we have to do. Let's close the main widget, go into our third person character or whatever template you're using. And first off, let's remove the touch event here. No one needs that. We also don't want the input action jump. We want to perform that based on custom hotkeys. Can also remove the gamepad input and VR. Let's add one variable, that's the whole core of the system, and that is called key actions. And that will be a map or dictionary linking an e_action to a key. Alright, let's add a second variable called inMenu ? Of the type boolean, and it's a single variable. If we then compile save and go to our key actions, we can add some default elements. So let's start with our turn. And now you can set up the default keys for that. So I will use E for turning. Add a second element, which will be jump, and the default is spacebar. Then add another one called open menu. Default I will use is the M key. Next one will be quit, and I'll use escape for that. Let's add our event begin play in the character class and create a widget, which will be the main widget. Let's also promote that to a variable, main widget. Off of it, create the hotkey widget with the input being our key actions. Then grab the main widget and let's set the visibility to hidden by default. We only want to show that when M is pressed, and after that we can add it to the viewport. Then let's add a function called showMenu with one input of type boolean called show ? First off, we will set our inMenu boolean to the input. Then get player controller and set show mouse cursor, and its value will be our inMenu. Then let's add a branch and hook up the inMenu boolean. So if we are in the menu now, let's grab your player controller and set input mode Game and UI. It will be asking you for an in widget to focus, which will be the main widget. Do not lock and uncheck hide cursor during capture. If it's false, however, off of the player controller, set input mode game only. And also drag in the main widget and select hotkey with no widget selected. So we'll just clear our selection basically when we close our menu. After we performed a branch here and all of that actions, let's grab the main widget, copy paste, set visibility, and we can hook that up to both branches. Then for your invisibility, use a select node, hook up the in menu boolean as the index. If it's true, it will be self hit test. If not, it will be hidden. Compile and save. Then back in the event graph, let's add a custom event called execute or perform action with one input of the type e_actions. Just call it action. Then we want to switch on that. And now you can add all of the functionality that you want to have in here. Let's do the quit first. We will just call quit game. And a specific player will be get player controller. Then hook that up. For open menu, we'll just drag in show menu with the boolean being true. For jump, it's very simple too. Just call the jump function of your character. And for turn, we'll just add a little functionality here. Call the function set actor rotation of ourselves. And we basically just want to turn around by 180 degrees. So we get our actor rotation. Then break the return value into roll, pitch, and yaw. Also split the struct bin here. Roll and pitch will be the same. And for the new yaw, we just grab our current yaw and add 180 to it. Right, let's add another function called key to action. It will have one input, which will be the key that we're looking for. Let's just call it key. And it will have two outputs. The first one will be a boolean called found ? And the second one will be the e_action, just called action if we found something. Make it a pure function. Grab your input and promote that to a variable called local key. Grab the key actions and get its keys. Then off of the return value, run another for each loop with break, like in our widget. What we want to do here is get your key actions and try to find the array element. Then get the key and check whether that double equals the local key. And the second condition will be that our array element here is not equal to the empty element. Then add a branch. Hook up the end as condition, connect it to the loop body. If it's true, we will grab the array element and promote that to a local variable called local action. Only set that on true. Then break out of your loop. And once it's completed, we will grab the local action, check whether that's not equal to the empty one, add a branch, hook it up. If it's true, just return with found being checked and the action being the local action. And if not, copy paste your return node and found will be false and action the empty action. File save. The other core part of the system is to change the key for an action. So let's add a function for that. Change key for action with two inputs. First one of type e_action, which will be the action, and the second one of type key, which will be the new key. And before we do anything, let's make that local variables, local action, and local key. Then set both of them at the very start of the function. Add another branch here. We want to check that the local key double equals. Then grab your key actions, find the local action, then connect the key to the equal. So basically we're checking whether the new key is equal to the current key, but of course that should not be true, so we will add a not boolean. And the second condition will be that our find actually returns something, so the boolean here. Then hook up the end to the condition. If it's false, you can just return, nothing to do here. If it's true, however, we will add a second branch What we want to do is grab the local key, call key to action, plug it in, and hook up the found. So we want to see whether our local key is already used for another action, basically. Let's do false first. That's a lot simpler, because then we just grab your key actions and add an element with the local action and the local key. Hook both of them up to the add node. Then the only thing left to do is grabbing the main widget and find the widget for action. Action being the local action. Check whether we actually found something, so is valid. And if it is valid, you grab the widget and call update hotkey text with the local key. If our branch is true, we first want to grab the action here of key to action, promote to local variable. Let's call that local other action. So this one has to be cleared basically. Then get your key actions and also add an element there. Hook up the local other action and the key will be any key, so it will be cleared. Then copy paste that node. Hook up the key actions. This time take the local action, not the other action, and the local key. No, then we can copy our main widget, widget for action and is valid node and paste that up here. But this time the action we want to look for is our local other action. And if that is valid, we want to grab that, update hotkey text, new key being the any key. And to also update the usual action, we will just hook that node up to the isValid of our false path. Alright, compile and save. Can close all of our functions now. Back in the event graph, look for event any key. And once that's pressed, first off we want to see whether we're in the menu right now. If it's false, it's really simple. We want to call key to action off of the key. And off of the found, add a second branch, connect that to the false path. So if we found an action, we can just call execute action, hook up the action, and connect that to the true. If the first branch is true, however, so if we're in the menu, we also want to add a second branch. And the branch here will be that the key to action was found and that the action we found equals open menu. Because if we're in the menu, the key to open the menu should be used to close it. So connect it to the end and to the condition. And if it's true, we will just call show menu with the show being false. However, if it's false, we basically want to assign a new hotkey. So first off, grab your main widget, get the selected hotkey, and let's check whether that's valid. Because if it is, call change key for action. For the action, grab the action of the selected hotkey. And the new key will be the input key from our event. And after we've changed the key, copy paste your main widget and select hotkey widget with the widget being null. So then we clear our selection. Alright, compile and save, and that should be everything for custom hotkeys. Let's check whether the system is actually working. Alright, now I'm in play mode. If I hit M, you can see our blur and all of our 4 actions that were created dynamically. It reads turn is E, jump is spacebar, open menu M, and quit escape. So if I hit spacebar right now, that's working properly, and hitting E will make our player turn around. If I hit M again, I can hover one of our buttons, select it, and now it will read my key input. So for example, I will hit the right mouse button now. Now it reads the right mouse button, and if I hit M, hit my right mouse button, now that is used for turning around, and E doesn't do anything at all. Let's hit M again, and for example, if I want to assign a hotkey that's already used, for example for jump, I will also want to use the right mouse button, hit that, then the turn is cleared. You can select that again and maybe make that the J key, for example, then hit M again. Now I'm jumping with the right mouse button, and J will make me turn around. Right, that's it for this prototype of setting up custom hotkeys. Please tell me what you think about these slightly different videos in the comment section, and see you in the next video.